And now we're going to bring in Melih Oztalay. And as a disclaimer, Melih is my webmaster and also my social media guru. Uh, and so I like to bring him in every month or so because he's always teaching me great stuff about digital marketing. And one of the things we were going to be talking about here, looking at my notes, can outsource the lead generation work? Can it?
Mike, good to be on the show again.
Thank you, Melih. Haven't talked to you in a couple of days. I think, we exchanged text this morning, but.
Exactly. That's right. I thought we would take a little bit of a different twist on our discussions today. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that when I'm on, at the end of the day, you got Twitter, you got Facebook, you got Instagram, you got TikTok. I don't spend a lot of time with all these other social media platforms as much as I do with LinkedIn. It's not that I'm avoiding the other ones, but at the end of the day, for business and B2B, it's all about LinkedIn. And one thing I get hit up so much on LinkedIn is lead generation. And the lead generation I get hit up most, as you can imagine, is India, Pakistan, Nigeria, Malaysia, Indonesia, I don't know. Take your pick, right? Countries where they are attempting to, use, low-cost labor, focusing a lot on, electronic lead generation at the end of the day. And that by itself, how effective is it? It's completely unknown, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know that there's any stats out there that say that lead generation from these types of companies is worthwhile. The other side of the equation is when you start getting lead generation from companies that are in the United States, and there's two forms of those, or at least two forms that I've come across the most. One of them is you got the guys in the United States who are using everybody else from India, Pakistan, Malaysia, Indonesia, Nigeria.
Because they're inexpensive, right?
Because they're inexpensive. And so they become the front of, the face of these people that are on the back end. And then there's the other side of the equation, which I thought was interesting, is when you have these companies in the United States pitching lead generation, sales, prospecting, and so on and so forth. But what they do is break this up into some interesting components, right? And they take you through different phases, mind you, and the phases are set up in such a way that throughout the process, you're spending somewhere in the tune of $5,000 a month, roughly. I mean, don't get me wrong, you might find somebody for $3,000, you might find somebody for a little bit more, it's all over the board. But the phases are interesting. So what they do is they help bring on appointment setters first. So you get a small little team, maybe 3-5 people. Again, same scenario. They're usually out of country. And then these become your appointment setters. As the appointment setters start to pick up steam, which the companies in the United States are suggesting that based on the fees that you're paying, you will turn around and receive X amount of leads and X number of people are supporting them, and that these guys are doing the training for you. So theoretically, you're not lifting a finger, but nonetheless, that's your first step. The second step they take you through is you're going to start working with guys that are actually, managing the meetings. And then from there, you're going to graduate to a team that's going to actually handle the selling for you. So this whole process takes somewhere in the tune of, a few different months. You're $15,000, $20,000 into the mix. And hopefully, fingers crossed, you're going to get what you're looking for. I found all of these types of situations a little bit bogus, especially in the B2B area, where at the end of the day, it's about prospecting. Pick up the phone, reach out to your target audience, get a conversation going, leave your voice messages, right? Have phone conversations, bring them to a meeting, and so on and so forth. That, I think, obviously, I know that sounds traditional, and I'm not suggesting that I'm an old timer, because at the end of the day, I am an early adopter. I'm just not convinced that what these guys are trying to accomplish is worth the money that they're charging. If they had come down on their pricing to, let's say, I don't know, 500, $1,000, right? Maybe $1,500 or somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe it wouldn't be quite the same impact. But when you start hitting these numbers that you're at $5,000 a month, and they're hiring people for less than $10 a month to get the job done, you start to wonder, well, where is this going? So I'm a little concerned about this outsourced lead generation process. There's a little bit of a question in my mind as far as whether or not this is really going to work.
Okay. Another thing I have in my notes that you wanted to talk about was the June 3rd job report saying that everyone should outsource their needs to other companies that have HR. Right. Okay.
So anyway, so Friday's jobs report was really interesting because it raises lots of different questions. So first of all, we have our unemployment rate somewhere between around 3.6%, if I remember the number correctly. But what's interesting is that this is such a low number that it's causing havoc in the labor market. And the havoc being that businesses are having a difficult time finding employees to fill positions. And in order to attract employees, they're raising their wages to bring employees from other companies to them. Which this is, think about it. I'm sure economists and and the like are real geeked about all these different scenarios. Because let's face it, what we're basically saying is that we can never end up in a 0% unemployment rate. I think that's what we're seeing with these low unemployment numbers. It's interesting. I'm not an economist. I'm not suggesting that I have the right answer for that scenario, but what I am suggesting that I think is worthwhile thinking about is if businesses, and I'm specifically talking about marketing at this point, businesses are hiring VPs of marketing at somewhere in the tune of $200,000 a year. The VP of marketing is going to have a manager and a staff, right? Give or take, you're dealing with another $300,000, maybe $400,000 a year. Grand total for a team of 5 people with a VP of marketing, you're dealing somewhere in the tune of $500,000 to $600,000 a year. And if you're having a hard time finding employees to fill your marketing positions, then and including a VP of marketing, mind you, I've been on LinkedIn Jobs looking around to see what type of jobs are available and what is being posted, and VP of marketing is being posted. But here's the interesting scenario. Why would a business spend $500,000, $600,000 a year on a small team for their marketing department when they could hire an agency for somewhere in the tune of $120,000 to $200,000 a year, which with a team of, let's say, 10 people? And not only that, but you gain the knowledge, the experience, the competencies across a broad range of industries and client types and customers and so on and so forth. That seems to make more sense to me at the end of the day, compared to bringing on a team, including a VP of marketing, at such a high rate. And when your jobs market is in the way that it is, and you're dealing with somewhere in the tune of increased wages to attract employees, perhaps the answer is to find another company who has the employees, so that you're not competing, but rather you're reducing your expenses.
Yeah. One of the points you're making here, I keep looking in my notes, consider increasing the number of leads or sales from your website to meet your sales revenue goals. Is that a better way to go?
Well, it's in addition to this idea of outsourcing certain elements of your staffing needs, whatever they may, and I think your next guest can talk about this a little bit more than I can. But certainly, one of the things to think about is making your website more effective so that it can generate more leads and more sales. And that process is known as conversion rate optimization. In other words, we're not talking about adding marketing budget. We're not talking about adding advertising budgets, trying to drive more traffic to the website. Rather, what we're talking about is let's improve the leads and sales that you're getting on your website, and in our case, I can tell you that we can do 3x that based on the existing traffic coming to the website. It's about call to actions, about A/B testing. It's about using an artificial intelligence tool that's tracking the journey of a client across multiple visits and how deep and how broad they go in your website and how much time they spend on your website across the amount of time between visits and so on and so forth. It's a lot of fun, actually. But these are all things that I think making your website more effective is in conjunction with outsourcing some of your staffing needs so that you're not hiring people at high rates, especially in the jobs market that we're talking about, with increased wages, with a high demand for employees, with not enough employees available to fill positions. I think there's something to be said by finding companies who have the staff and your needs versus trying to bring more people in and increasing your budgets unnecessarily.
Yeah, we certainly, the pandemic, as if we weren't already pretty much moving towards this virtual kinds of multi-continent businesses. We're there now, aren't we? I mean,
I think so.
Even GM, big companies like that, I've had conversations with folks there. They love it, actually, because now they can get the best people from around the world, and those people can still stay in their home countries, but then they get 24/7 development time and win-win, right? And then people are making more money than they'd make at home anyway, right?
I think that, again, that goes up to a certain point and then it becomes ineffective. And so there's a balance as far as, whether or not you're outsourcing across the planet and whether or not you're outsourcing, to another company where the staffing needs are already met at a lower price tag. And by that, I mean a lower price tag within the United States.
Right.
I'm not suggesting we're outsourcing to India, Pakistan, and Indonesia, Malaysia, and Nigeria. And so, where you're getting a lower quality of people and perhaps less effective at the end of the day. So there's some questions around that, but certainly an interesting time that we're living in right now.
Yes, that Chinese curse, man, you live in interesting times. So we certainly are. Go ahead and now go ahead share the information. Again, Melih is my webmaster, helps me with all my social media, so I can highly recommend him. But why don't you share the contact information with our audience and so they can reach out to you?
Sure. So let me start. My first name is Melih. My last name is Oztalay. In other words, it's spelled Melih. Last name is Oztalay, Oztalay. You just Google me and you'll get more information. You can take a stick at after being 35 years in this industry. And we are an award-winning agency. Our website is at SmartFinds Marketing.com. And certainly you can look that up separately as well and get lots of information both on my LinkedIn profile, our LinkedIn profile for our company, and our website.